As you know, our political scene has been filled with headlines recently, particularly regarding diversity, equity, and inclusion, renewable energy, and of course, drill baby drill. We thought it was important to dig into these headlines and the executive orders to better understand what it could mean for sustainable investing. The tracker we've been building looks at the executive orders from the first 5 months of the administration. This was particularly important because the Trump 2.0 administration really leaned into executive orders as a policy tool in the beginning. Over the first 100 days, this chart shows that President Trump signed over 140 executive orders. This is more than any other president in the last 50 years by a wide margin. Next, we broke down the orders by theme, where you can see that a majority are really focused on that government structure. Some of that's related to DOGE, international affairs, a lot of that is tied to tariffs, and then sociocultural. And this is where we're seeing some of those executive orders tied to diversity and gender. More importantly, we then looked at the environmental and social impacts and found that almost 3/4 have either an environmental and or social impact. And this includes withdrawing from the Paris Climate Agreement, which impacts funding, reducing barriers for fossil fuel production due to a sort of calling a national energy emergency, and spearheading a deregulation campaign. Now, with all these impacts, you may be thinking this is going to be challenging for the sustainable investing sector, but we looked into that as well. And ultimately, what we found is that about 70% of the executive orders are unlikely to have a meaningful long-term implication on sustainable investing. And why is that? Well, we think there will be a few obstacles to the deregulation efforts and a longer than expected timeline to get there. And ultimately, we expect companies may continue to abide by regulations in the meantime. We also see larger secular trends like AI use and increased electricity needs continuing to benefit sectors like renewable energy. And partly that's because renewable energy is often more cost-effective than gas in most areas of the United States. So it's a little easier to also get up to speed, and that really helps it fit in some of these secular trends. And then also when we think around diversity, we're still finding that a lot of companies are leaning into these practices as tools for employee engagement, may just be changing a little bit how they're describing them. Now, we have been seeing some short-term volatility in valuations based on policy, particularly earlier on in the Trump 2.0 administration. We're seeing that start to normalize as we become more familiar with how the administration implements policy. But ultimately, in the long term, we see the key economic drivers for sustainable investing continuing. If you're looking to learn more, please go to ubs.com/CIO or check out our POTUS 47 website to find our tracker.